Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov yesterday insisted that Iran will be able to maintain its presence in Syria after a truce. He said that Iran has a legitimate right to be there. Reuters is reporting Iranian-backed militias could be allowed to maintain positions just 3 miles away from Israel's border. Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu says he told Russian President Putin that Israel will not be bound by any eventual ceasefire and that Israel would still carry out airstrikes as it sees fit for national security. Peace talks in Geneva are trying to move Iranian positions possibly to more than 25 miles away from the border. Israeli fighter jets have carried out dozens of airstrikes in Syria on weapons convoys that were bound for the Iran-backed Hezbollah militia in Lebanon. Israeli jets in recent weeks have even sometimes targeted Syria army positions and an anti-aircraft missile battery near Damascus. Joining me now is Iranian expert and lecturer Meir Javandanfar. Meir, this question was looming for months. If Iran was allowed to have a position in post-war Syria, how close could an Iranian militia position be to Israel's border? We're hearing reports now it could be 3 or 4 miles. If Russia insists on that and Israel says no, how does that come to a head?
I think it's going to end up in a firefight. But again, it's too early to say because this is not the end yet. I think the reason why the Americans are here, it shows that the negotiations over where Iran is going to be based are not over. But once we know for sure, and if it's too close to the border of the state of Israel, and if they use that to threaten Israel, I don't think any Israeli government, be it Netanyahu or a leftist government, would stand for it. But I have to say also on the other side of the coin, right now the majority of the people of Iran are not following. This is not even an issue. What people care about is that there's just been an earthquake in Iran. 400 people have died, and one of the major reasons has been because of the shoddy government project housing that was built during Ahmadinejad, and how the government just basically mishandled it, and so many more people died on the Iranian side of the border compared to the Iraqi side.
More than 6,000 injured, many of them critically.
Three nights, some of them have been sleeping.
Yeah, sleeping in near freezing temperatures. You know, I have to ask this question about Netanyahu and Putin. They have met many times this year alone. In 2017, Netanyahu making no mystery about telling President Putin that Iran cannot be allowed to have a position anywhere close to the border, that buffer zone better be wide. Why would perhaps Sergei Lavrov and Putin not listen to Netanyahu and allow Iran to get within 5 miles of Israel's border when Netanyahu says it's unacceptable?
To be honest, Jeff, I wouldn't pay too much attention to what Lavrov said yesterday. This was in order to calm Iranian concerns. It was for domestic, for that side. It doesn't mean that Russia is too interested in having the Iranians too close to the border. But also Russia's hands are tied because Russia needs Iranian militia on the ground because it doesn't want to risk its own soldiers fighting on the front. They'd rather be in the air than on the ground. Second of all, also the Iranians want to be as close to Israel as possible because the closer they are to Israel, the more important they are to Bashar al-Assad, meaning the more they can reap the economic benefits. Jeff, this is being discussed in Iranian media right now. People are saying, okay, we helped Assad, now we have to reap the economic benefits with more contracts in Syria, with bigger economic involvement in the country. So that being said, I think at the end of the day, if Israel chooses to attack Iran, that will Iranian forces, that strengthens the negotiation hand of Putin, and that's why he's not stopping it. Every time we attack, Putin goes back to the Iranians and says, presumably, I told you not to get too close, so you better listen to me, otherwise the Israelis will attack you. Yeah.